Welcome to Death Holler, the place of haunted hearts and haunted homes. We welcome you to Death Manor, the home that boasts the most ghosts. Come on in. We've been expecting you. Take a look around. You might see someone that you recognize. Do you hear those voices? That's just the Reverend Dr. Death and Llareyna. They're so happy to see you. Sit back and relax. Make yourself at home. Your new home. And remember, when you're in Death Holler, listener discretion is always advised. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Death Holler. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Death, and joining me as always is my co-host, Llareyna. Today we are discussing Barbarian, the 2022 film. And yes, folks, this is a spoiler cast, so we will be discussing everything about this movie. And in my personal opinion, you should go in completely blind in this film if you really want to enjoy it. So please only continue listening if you watch the film and just kind of want to, to listen to us kind of go over what we thought about the movie.
Yeah, Llareyna loves fucking spoilers, but this is one film I am going to say right off the bat, I would not have wanted it spoilers on this one at all.
No, it when it hits and you realize what's going on, it's kind of a joy of a movie just because it's way different than what you're expecting from the trailers, and the spoilers are going to ruin it. So please do not continue listening if you have not watched that movie.
Yeah, do yourself some justice on this one.
So getting right into the movie, it's directed by Zach Cregger, also written by Zach Cregger, music by Anna Drubick. Made for a budget of $4 million US dollars. So far in the US, it's made $10 million. So it has, made its money back and actually over double that. And I don't know, there's really no information right now as far as its overseas take, if it's got one. So, I mean, it's profitable. So that's good. Principal players, we have Georgina Campbell playing Tess. She is the final girl of the film, an aspiring documentary filmmaker, if I remember right, and she is very much foolhardy in this movie. That's one of the little spoiler about the spoiler cast. I think that's one of Llareyna's biggest complaints is how she just wants to rush in at one point and could probably have other options, but we'll discuss that when we get to it.
Wait, hold up for a minute. I have never in my life heard the word foolhardy. What the hell is that?
Somebody who's, willing to rush in the danger, basically, and not really accept the consequences.
Oh, my God. I love it. Okay, perfect.
So Georgina Campbell's in a movie coming out called Lovely, Dark, and Deep. It is a horror film that's coming up. Sounds very interesting, actually. She is in Black Mirror, an episode of that, which is a very dark themed show with sci-fi elements, kind of in the realm of Twilight Zone. And she was in a kind of a dark serial killer drama called Broadchurch that was on British television. She might have been on the American version, though I think they did make the switch to the U.S. on that. We have Bill Skarsgård playing Keith, one of the leads of a real estate group who is gentrifying Detroit slums and turning them into housing for artists, which I don't know how he's ever going to plan on getting paid for that because we know artists don't make anything, but that's a whole other argument. He is a bit awkward, and he is definitely too trusting. And, of course, Skarsgård is known for Pennywise and probably will be for the rest of his days. He also played in Stephen King's Castle Rock series as a very, very dark character. And that first season is actually I like both seasons, but that first season was really good. the Crow remake he's actually in. That's in post production now. He is actually playing, the Crow in that. I'm interested in that one now that I know he's playing that part. What do you think about that?
With Skarsgård?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing about Skarsgård is that looking at him as a person in pictures, you don't expect him to be able to portray the characters he does. He's a good actor. So I'm for it. I'm here for it, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say.
He's going to be in the Nosferatu remake from Robert Eggers,
yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Wait, who is he playing?
I don't think it mentioned. I think he's a recent ad. Like they just literally added him on.
Oh, dude. Every film you have kind of listed here, I see it, is all I'm going to say.
And of course, he's going to be in the new John Wick 4 with our boy Keanu. So
yeah,
can't leave Keanu out if we get the chance.
The Crow remake, dude.
I wasn't interested in it until I heard this news that he's going to be playing Eric Draven in that. I'm like, okay, I want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say this has it has something to do with him. In this particular film, Barbarian, I did not know it was him because he's always so done up dramatic.
So
obviously,
dark and brooding.
Yes. Obviously, Pennywise, he's not going to look like himself. That doesn't count, okay? But the way they usually do his makeup, so he was somewhat of a normal looking person in this film. He kind of reminded me of John Mayer a little bit. They made him look a little bit more handsome. He was charming, I should say.
Yeah, he was, and he had to be for the character because of the way that they set the initial, part of thrust of the film.
Yes.
It's like, Tess is like staying with this guy, and if he wasn't at least a little bit charming, there's no way that she'd been like, fuck this, I don't care, I'm out. Like he couldn't be the Pennywise looking guy.
Absolutely. Yeah, which there's pictures of him right now where he's probably like on a daily show. Oh, it's Conan, and they had him do the Pennywise scary looking face. No thank you. Anyways, moving on.
We have Justin Long playing AJ, who is an actor, a scumbag, an alleged rapist, a deadbeat landlord / vacation rental owner. And did I mention he's a scumbag? I think I did.
And eyeballs are not something he really needs in any film.
I want this to be a thing now. If Sean Bean dies in every movie, I want Justin Long to lose his eyes in every movie.
Yes.
Of course, he was in Jeepers Creepers and lost his eyes in that movie. He didn't lose them in Dodgeball, although he probably should have after he had a wrench thrown at his head. Was it necessary for him to throw a wrench? No, but he liked it, so he did it anyways.
Yeah.
Clerks 3, he's which Kevin Smith is probably crying somewhere over Batgirl being canceled still, but I've heard good things about Clerks 3 if you're a fan of the Clerks movies, and Justin Long's in that. And that just came out. And then House of Darkness, which is a 2022 horror comedy that's still not yet released, he's in that, and I'm interested in that one too.
Okay. I mean, he's in it, so why not?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a horror comedy, and this movie proves that he can do that. I mean,
horror, yeah.
So we have Richard Brake playing Frank, the original owner of the house, a true serial rapist, father to many inbred children.
Kind of looks like Tom Petty.
Yeah. Kind of looks like him. Funny thing is, he's in the Munsters. If you didn't know, he plays Dr. Wolfgang, the one that creates Herman.
Okay.
And I actually liked him in that. I know we talked about it in the spoiler cast for Hocus Pocus, but of the characters in the movie, I actually like Richard Brake's character in the Munsters just because, like, he's kind of annoyed with everybody else in the movie, and I think I would have been too. And the accent he puts on, even though it's out there, it's like it's a way different take than what he does in this. I mean, he's just like a stone cold, like, no nonsense piece of shit in this one, to be honest. But
okay, shut the fuck up. He was the Ice King, the Night King. I'm sorry, in Game of Thrones.
Okay, that makes sense.
The reason why I'm asking or threw that out there is because I wanted to see how tall he is. He looks super tall in this film. He is 6'2", so 2 inches shorter than the last character we discussed.
Doug Jones.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still taller than majority of Hollywood. So
definitely taller than Justin Long. So.
Oh yeah.
And Richard Brake is one of Rob Zombie's regulars. Like, he got in on Halloween 2, and then he he played Doomhead in 31. One of the few bright spots in that movie, because that's the only interesting thing about that movie. Like, I tried watching it the other day, and like Doomhead's at the beginning of it, and it's like he's in your face and he's talking to the camera, and then it flips it around and shows who he's actually talking to. But like, he's got this dark charisma to him whenever he's that character, and he's really good. But then the rest of the movie is just boring shit, and of course Sherry Moon's in that, but we'll get to her in a sec, in the Monsters podcast. He was in 3 from Hell, which was the worst of the trilogy for that series too, but there was a few extraneous factors. I didn't know this though. He was actually in an episode of Supernatural, The Scorpion and the Frog.
Okay.
And he was in The Mandalorian. He played like one of the evil Imperial guys, which that makes sense. He's got a face for playing a bad guy. I'm just saying.
What? Not a face like that.
And he played in The Gate, which is a 2022 horror movie. So a lot of people in this movie are in other movies that are horror films coming out this year, which I'm kind of here for.
Pretty fucking funny.
Matthew Patrick Davis this is hilarious, plays the mother in the movie.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I'm serious. So the weird inbred woman monster in this movie is actually played by a guy.
Which, it's not the first time we've seen this.
No. And of course, the mother is the barbarian that's in reference, at the beginning of the name of the movie. And I'll get into kind of the reason why that, where that
not
comes
Skarsgård from. as it's kind of intended, or not intended, but kind of inferred.
Assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the mother is obviously an unfortunate inbred monster, and she just wants her baby. She just wants that baby.
Just a baby.
So the synopsis: after getting double booked by 2 different vacation rental websites and with nowhere else to stay due to a medical convention taking over most of the hotels, 2 complete strangers agree to temporarily share a living space in a bad part of Detroit, I have to add, until things can be sorted out. The 2 become more comfortable with each other as they spend more time together and turn in for the night. However, something else is in the house, and strange things happen overnight, causing Tess to mistrust Keith. Eventually, Tess discovers a strange room behind a trapdoor in the basement and discovers the house may hold darker secrets than she ever imagined. The fear of the dark adds steady tension. Comedy relief enters in the form of Justin Long. A rash of bad decisions are made in the name of heroism, and a truly monstrous inbred woman rips through everything to get to her baby. And I think that pretty much describes the movie, if I'm going to be honest.
That's the podcast, everybody. That's it. Good night.
But no, just getting into the film, discussing it, that beginning intro scene, and I'm going to throw visuals in here. I think that the way that they did the visuals for this, it was absolutely amazing, because the soft light at night of, like, what they could see of the surrounding, like, houses, and the way that they framed it, and like that, just the light, the street lights they had there at that one house, and just the night scenes in general. And like, I loved how every bit it was filmed. It had like, it was clear. It had like, it was kind of artistic in the way that they did it. It just looked really nice. Like it, and going back to our Hocus Pocus, I feel like it beat the shit out of that, as far as like visually,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get the visual when you first is this girl that pulls up, and as we've all had issues with Airbnb, if you've ever have stayed in an Airbnb, you can't get into the fucking house ever. That's just it's tradition, okay? You're never able to use the lockbox. She was putting in the wrong code. I've also done that. She's just trying to get in the house. But it's not just the struggle of trying to get into this house and what she's going through. She pulls up. It's really dark. She's driving late at night. She's got a job interview. She's got to go to a really important job interview. And you can only see the silhouettes of the neighborhood around her, the houses and everything. It is so
and they don't look
black.
that bad. The way that it's framed in the darkness, they don't look that bad.
It's scary because it's dark, but let me tell you what, as a side gig that I do when I'm going through neighborhoods, it's always the worst neighborhoods that have no fucking light, and I am not joking. That is a fucking thing. So this resonated with me. I was like, oh my God, like, you know, you just know it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like a horrible neighborhood. It's just not a better neighborhood. The better neighborhoods are fucking illumined with light, you know? But yeah.
And it's pouring the rain too, so that sets the mood as well, like right from the get-go. I mean, and that kind of obscures your vision of the houses, and I think that's a smart way to, do it too. It's like she doesn't realize how bad it is because of the dark and because of the rain. Like she just, like the house that she's going to looks, beautiful actually.
Absolutely, yeah. That one's lit up and she could see what's going on. It's just a normal house.
But like, but the way the best thing about this movie, in addition to those visuals of kind of how they show that stuff, and of course the visuals of the mother herself, because they did a great job on those prosthetics, like that Matthew that was playing the part, like freaky as hell, like whenever the mother shows up, like, I mean, just this horrible looking monster. But, and of course, like whenever they do actually show the nastiness of the neighborhood and the nastiness of the actual, like Richard Brake's character, Frank, as he is now, like dying of like pneumonia or whatever he's got going on.
Consumption.
Like, just how run down and dingy and gross everything is. Like they did really good in setting that all up visually.
It is. Well, everything visually in this. The city of Detroit, when she's actually in the city, just the small area. The Airbnb house, did that not fucking look like an Airbnb house?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like even down to like, I mean, the little touches they had of like, Skarsgård's like, there's a bottle of wine. Do you want, like they always throw something, like little treats and all that stuff in there, but just the way that it was like presented, like it matched well enough.
And then when things start getting weird, when they start finding the hidden rooms, the fear that I felt when I saw that room, the first room with the video camera.
The room with the video and the visuals that kicked in there was that bed was so soiled, and you could tell there was blood on that bed. It wasn't just like it was like a sex bed, with like stains that way. There was blood on that, so you knew something even worse had gone on.
Oh yeah, and a bloody handprint on the wall.
Yeah, and there was and she looked at it, but I mean, I don't think it was ever acknowledged. I mean, she might have said something to Skarsgård before he ran down in there because, this is not woke by any means. Guys do feel, I can speak to this. I mean, going back to the word foolhardy, I mean, there's times, and that's probably the reason women live longer than us, that because of our, perceived strength and, all that stuff, when we know, I mean, there's situations where women are like, don't go there. That is clearly a bad situation. We're like, we can handle ourselves, like and he does that, and it's not like him being a stupid, white guy or anything like that. He's just, I mean, that's him being male and not realizing that there are worse things out there than just getting beat up physically. You know? It's like, but anyways, other than her talking to him about that, like, I don't think it's really acknowledged. It's just you're shown this, and it's like that's one of the things I love about this movie. It's like the people who wrote, or Kreger who wrote and directed this, he expects you as an audience to keep up with him. He is not going to feed you anything.
No.
He doesn't even, when he does the hard cuts, because this movie has 2 hard cuts in it to, between times and locations, he expects you to keep up and just like, okay, we're in a different location. Where we at now? Okay, clearly this is California, or clearly this is now Detroit, but like 20, 30 years previous, it's like but he, like the way he directs it, he gives you the visual clues and and I love that because, movies are supposed to be a visual medium, and like he respects that, and he doesn't sit there and do, which is one of the biggest complaints I've heard about the Rings of Power on Amazon right now, is the fact that they explain everything. Like they sit there and they tell you something you've literally just seen as a member of the audience. And it's like, dude, I just watched that. Why did the character have to say exactly what I saw? You know?
I was there.
But in that scene with the bed, like, she doesn't have to comment on it. You saw it. She saw it. You know that some bad shits went on in this place.
Yeah. And not only that, in going back to what you said about he's good. You better keep up with him. You better fucking keep up with him. You also don't get really a lot of time for emotion or to react. You get to react, but that's all you get. And you better fucking keep moving on, because the pace of this film is amazing. And that's probably one of the things I love the most about it. You know how I am. Let's go. Let's roll. Let's get some action. I want to see some scary shit, and something better blow up. You know, whether it be someone's head or whether it be a fucking car, you know. But yeah, no, the pace of this film is fucking fast. So react, but move on. You better be crying while you're running.
But that's one of the things I love about it too. I mean, the beginning part of the movie does all of the heavy lifting as far as the storytelling without like being like a big monologue or anything like that. You get the two actors together. They both have charisma. Like, both of the actors are great at what they're doing. You feel for both of them instantly, even if you know, like, you're just thrown into this world with them, but you get the everything instantly. Like, they sell the, you know, she sells her, you know, being afraid of the situation and the mistrust of him as a man. You get him, you know, like the feeling that he's hurt, but he understands and he's trying to patch things over with her.
Yeah.
And like when the two are having those scenes together, although some could say that they're kind of slow, I love that buildup between the two of them, because you get the feel for them and you get connected emotionally with them before the shit really hits the fan with the two of them.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to throw out the biggest spoiler right now, which we've kind of alluded to, is that he is not the bad guy.
He is not.
He is not the bad guy. He is not the barbarian. In fact, he is one of the first victims that we see.
Yeah. And it's weird too, because they throw, and that's something that I love about this that Kreger did, that there doesn't have to be any follow up on it. There's that weird thing that she notices at night where Skarsgård is having like night terrors, or he's like, you know, crying out in his sleep. It never gets brought up again. Mm-mm. And it doesn't have to. It doesn't involve the plot, but it's there intentionally just to make her think, what the fuck is wrong with this guy, you know? So that there's a little bit more of that tension before she realizes, oh, he's not the one that's the bad guy. That fucking thing is the problem, you know?
And 100%, like, this guy comes off very serial killer-ish. He's very nice, but every serial killer is nice. He's real awkward.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say awkward is the key word to him, because like he I mean, and the way that Skarsgård plays it is just brilliant too, because like, I mean, he can be charming when he you know is talking to her and all that, but then he fumbles a lot of stuff. He's like, I mean, like the scene where he's like, he hands her the drink and then he goes back and he messes up and he says, oh, well, I didn't pour this out. You can watch me pour it. I know that you know, you might have think, and you know, him calling attention to the fact that she already thought that it was roofie didn't make her feel any better. It just made it awkward between the two of them.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's legit, you know. He was trying to be polite, which it just comes, it's funny because it's just how women are. That's how I was thinking. As a woman, I was thinking, this is weird. I also, personally, I would have made a different decision that night, which has nothing to do with the film, but like, someone is in there, I would have been like, you know what? Then it looks like I'm driving to the next fucking town over. I'm tired, I'm sleepy, but I don't know this guy, you know? So that would have been the first thing. Nice or not, you know, I would have been out of there. Okay, let's say I did fucking stay. Let's say my car wouldn't start and I'm fucking stuck, and it's like, great. Well, one, I wouldn't have been sleeping that night, you know, which they really didn't. They kind of stayed up for a really long time. No, they didn't. But the next morning when I walked out and I saw that fucking neighborhood in the daylight, they were in a shanty town.
As a guy, I would, as soon as I saw that shanty town, which that says a lot about Skarsgård, because he saw the place in the daylight.
Yeah.
We're assuming, and he still, but also they did set it up a little bit in saying that he was somebody who was scouting the area to gentrify it or to improve it. So he was used to seeing that kind of squalor, you know.
That's
basically.
True. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because he did specify that to her, because she was there in town to interview for a documentary that I don't know, something, a film that was being made? Was it a documentary? Am I on the right path?
Yeah, it was a documentary, and I want to say that either she saw that what inspired her to sign up for this documentary was the documentary she saw about Skarsgård's, group,
Yes.
or she was getting ready to film one about Skarsgård group.
Yes,
it was
and
one of the two.
He was like, yes, I put them together. It was too perfect. He was too perfect. It was too much of a coincidence that they showed up together. So it's really setting up this sideline that where you're starting to put in your mind, oh, he knows too much about her. He knew she was going to be there. He's probably the owner of this house. She booked the house. He's pretending he's a tenant. He booked it on some website you've never heard of. She said she got it through, what's the most popular one? AirBnB.
I want to say it was Airbnb is what she said. Yeah.
And he booked it off some website called Stay for Cheap or something ridiculous that you're like,
yeah,
I've never
it was
heard of that.
something like Z grade generic sounding.
Oh,
like,
yeah. And then he knows all this stuff about what she's doing, which we do find out he wasn't lying per se, and that he wasn't what I made him out to be. I'm like, oh, he's definitely the killer. He's the owner of this house.
You know what's funny about that is that Kreger did such a good job that he even played to gender norms even in that, because I didn't pick up any of that stuff as a male. Like, I honestly didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I implicitly trusted that he was trying to extend an olive branch and do the right thing. And I understood, and just like, he did, I understood that she was in a bad situation and should not trust him. But at the same time, I never assumed anything negative, like you just said that you did. But that's great that you did, because that proves that the movie works the way it's supposed to.
The movie does. And here's the thing, though, is that it's also, this is Detroit, so I don't know how much it is. We know how bad Detroit is as a city. Like, the fact that she's there by herself is, okay, whatever. We'll get over that. But given a different area, if I'm dealing with somebody from the South, I know that they're genuine, and I'm probably going to trust them a little bit more, even a guy. So it's not all men. In California,
Gotcha.
I want to know what your intentions are. I wouldn't just show up to a house and be like, oh, okay, this is going to work out. I wouldn't do that out here, not without keeping my knife with me and being like, okay, well, I guess mama ain't sleeping tonight. I would also be looking for another area, which they tried to set up that there was some kind of medical convention in town. She didn't ask anybody, not one person. She didn't do any research. She just trusted him, which worked for you, did not work for me.
No, I did take that. I'll take that back for you for just a second. She did get on and she tried booking rooms, and everyone that she went to said there was no vacancy. And then that's when he told her that there was a thing in town. So they did set that up to where it didn't look like he was just feeding her a line of bullshit to keep her from, going in.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know. I still would have been checking. Like, she didn't ask that lady the next day. She was in town the next day, and the lady she was talking to, once the lady was like, you're staying where? And just the horrified look on this lady who's interviewing her on her face, I would have been like, okay, I want the details. Tell me what I need to know.
You know what I got out of that conversation with that lady, though, and I don't know if I was supposed to get this out of it, it was that Tess is one of those characters that is one of those women that doesn't like to be challenged to say that as a woman she can't be. I mean, she still, obviously follows those, to a certain extent because she did with Skarsgård. Yeah. But she doesn't like being told that she can't do something just because it's dangerous because she's a woman. Like, she, in that moment, she gave me the thing, that like view. It's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but like, just because, I'm a woman doesn't mean I'm powerless, type thing. Which is
it plays in the film very well.
It helps the film, but also, I mean, there are people, I don't know if you consider that a flaw. You consider that I mean, it's both a flaw and a benefit to the person that they, are that comfortable and confident in themselves that they think they can, deal with something like that.
With all due respect to the actress, the main actress in this film, she is a strong, independent black woman that don't need no man.
But that's the thing. We talked about this in Hocus Pocus. That could have been drawn out way more than it was, and I feel like they did the perfect balancing act with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What else was I going to say? Well, there's going to be more things in this film as we discuss a little bit more about decisions that were made, so we should probably just keep moving on. So,
before we get to, I mean, because I feel like we're we've pretty much like discussed this enough, but the thing with Skarsgård going down there and then her, trying to find him, and then like, that hard cut scene where you see his face, like the mother show up for the first time.
Oh God.
Which the tension that they set up for that, because Tess is slowly like going down this labyrinthian cavern system or whatever, sees the rusty cages. That's another visual clue that's like, that her and the audience knows is, oh shit, some really bad, these are human cages. And then like, the farther she goes, you hear off in the distance, Skarsgård like, help me, like crying out like he's in pain.
Yeah.
It was really tense. Like it really set up a lot of tension, and you couldn't see shit in those scenes, which you shouldn't. I mean, it was her cell phone, so it wasn't going to cast light very far. But I mean, and she was smart. She did at least like, set up that mirror system to get light as far back as she could. But like just her delving down into the deep, and then whenever you get that first reveal of the mother, like, I mean, bam, God. Like that was a good little like, jump scare that they set up there.
That was scary. I would have never met the mother, because once I saw that fucking room, I would have been gone. Am I the only one that feels this way?
No, if I would have seen that room even as Skarsgård, I would have got the fuck out of there. I would have never opened up that door behind it, even if I would, by accident, because I don't know if that's what that says about me. I'll throw my man card in if, or, and tear it to shreds if that does says something. But I think that was stupid from the, once he saw that bed, but the thing is he said he got bit by something from that door, I think is the way he described it. But even if you got bit by something that was like sticking out of that door, I would have turned tail and ran. I'd be like, what the fuck is in this place? And just got the hell out of there.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I don't remember the got bit part. What happened?
Yeah. Yeah, he said that whenever he opened the door down into the caverns, something bit him. And like, or at least when he was down in the caverns, maybe he started investigating and then he got bit. But like, I wouldn't even went that far. As soon
that was when he was on the ground trying to tell her, "Don't go that way. We got to go this way."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, something bit me, and like, and then of course, Mother shows up and smashes his head into a wall multiple times, and it just busts open like a ripe melon. But
that was the explosion I needed for this film to be complete for me.
And then that hard cut right after that, and it's just like you said, like he gives you like no time to react. You see that, and you see her like her horrified expression, and then bam, you're in sunny California. You're following AJ out of nowhere.
Yeah, actually, it's. Oh wait, no, it is AJ. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking the Detroit flashback. Real quick, she did what I would have done, kind of, where she tried to get out of there and get him to go too. Like, this is bad.
Exactly.
Now
that was smart.
Yeah. And as if I were a man, what I think I would do would be like, I need to protect this girl. There's something fucking strange going on. Whether she goes with me or not, we got to get the fuck out of here. This is not right. I can't force her to do anything, but
the one thing that I'll give Kreger credit for in this scene, in this instance, is the fact that he sets up that Skarsgård is trying to believe her, but she's acting kind of crazy, and they literally only know each other for one night.
That's
so
true,
he's like he's still trying to get like, who's this, just like she is. He doesn't know what he's dealing with, so he's trying to prove that she saw what she saw. But he shouldn't have investigated the cavern. Is the only thing. I mean, it's the one step too far.
And they did a good job of setting him up for his persistence is what made the film continue, obviously. He was like, please, just stay. Let me go see. I want to believe you. And I'm like, this motherfucker's going to kill her. I'm over here thinking, and you're like, he's over here being noble.
But you're gonna notice this whenever you get into the slasher season that's coming up shortly.
Ugh.
It's a trope in horror movies that it's like, oh, what's over here? What's behind this curtain? And then so I forgave all of that just because of that. But if you're going, but they are the realism of the characters and how well that they were written. Kind of, I agree with you. Kind of makes you think that they should have been more realistic than just the standard horror movie trope.
Yeah, there was a lot of nopes that happened way before the big nope. So. Is all I'm saying.
The scenes with AJ, it's funny because you get like the pacing of this movie is interesting. You get that big reveal, the big slam, against the wall, and all of a sudden it cuts to AJ, and it's comedy. It's you have this big drama that's playing out with this character you've never seen before in the movie. You're trying to get the bearings of what this guy's going on. And then it even follows him all the way to the house, and then it sets up, and then there's a little bit of a slowdown period there where he's trying to get the lay of the land. He's like, do you fucking clean this place after, you ran out? And it's like, because there's still shit here, and what I love about that in those scenes in between with AJ is that you get everything you need to know about the character in one short little burst. Because when he goes to visit his friend in Detroit, it's like he swore up and down this entire time. It was a hack job. She framed me. I didn't do anything with her, blah, 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 blah. He gets to his friend in Detroit. He's like, well, yeah, we might have did stuff together. And, but she said she was fine with it. And, his story changes. So, right there, he's not the stand-up guy that he's trying to make himself out to be to everybody.
I was half-ass expecting that when he woke up the next day in that crazy-ass house, by the way, I was half-ass expecting that he was going to open up like his cell phone and see some kind of text or a news report of, so-and-so admits, friend got, actual report because he's over here talking his mouth off. Oh, my God. And that phone call he made to the girl who he allegedly,
oh, God, so
mishandled.
Awkward, so cringe.
Oh, that was so cringeworthy. But, man, was that such a good addition to the film. It really set him up for what kind of an asshole we're dealing with here.
It really set up that one scene later on in the movie whenever he has a choice.
Yes, he makes a choice.
And whenever he does what he does, you're like, yep, you have already proven you're that kind of guy.
Yeah, we almost expected that. We thought it was going to go one way. Yeah. So anyways, here he is in the house, which, by the way, he's a failing movie star. Is that what you got from this?
I got the sense that he was a mediocre movie star and that he was like finally getting some traction. Yeah. And then this kind of, knocked his feet out from under him.
Yeah.
But yet another thing that Kreger does in this movie to make you realize how much of a scumbag AJ is the fact that whenever he's presented with the room, he doesn't even bat an eye at the fact of what he's seeing, unlike Tess, who realizes the horror of what she's seeing. And we assume Skarsgård, because Skarsgård, he went further on to investigate maybe because of his concern. No, AJ is only caring about the fact that it could add some more, footage to his listing. That's literally and he's even gets out the tape measure to prove.
Oh my God, he's measuring the square footage and he's Googling underground storage or underground spaces. Can that
to see if he can list it as another room on his real estate listing?
Oh my God, we're talking about he was measuring the room that had the dingy ass bed. He didn't notice the handprint on the wall. Didn't care that there was a camera pointed at this bed.
Not one bit.
No.
Which also says a lot. I mean, it goes back to also say that the rape charges, without telling you so, are probably legit, because he didn't even bat an eye at that.
Oh, it was a visual inference for sure.
Yeah.
So measuring down the stairs, down
into the caverns. He doesn't even bat an eye at the cages yet again. He's just trying to measure around them.
Oh my God.
Whenever he is finally caught by, when he starts to, I think the mother he hears at that point, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And then the traditional trope of his flashlight going out. And then he stumbles into a pit with Tess, and that's where the two of those meet.
Yes.
And she's telling him, she's like, we don't know how long Tess has been in here. I think I read somewhere on the internet that it was inferred it was like a couple of weeks.
Oh shit.
I don't know. Yeah. But she's in this pit and she's telling him, she's like, shut up, shut up, shut up. You know, like she knows the score of what the mother is going to do, and he won't listen to her, which is another thing about him. The fact that a woman's telling him something and he's not listening to her, that's another inference. I mean, whether you want to, and of course we get that great scene where he gets pulled away from there. And like we've already seen from Tess, she sees that weird, creepy room where it's showing the little old timey, 13-inch TV.
Yes.
Talking about mothers and how to breastfeed. And then we get that one sickening scene where mother is breastfeeding AJ. Oh my God.
This monster is it's She originally starred in The Hills Have Eyes. She is the product of a serial rapist and murderer who made babies and had babies with babies until this, it's still human, was created, but it's just so badly inbred that, there's, osteoporosis issues, there's skin issues. I mean, she's underground all the time. Never.
Yeah, she's got like this gray mottled skin that looks like she's undead or something.
Yeah.
I mean, where she's, she never comes out, and even during the daytime, because that's what the one creepy, which is another good thing in the movie, the one creepy homeless guy or whatever, like comes around and warns Tess. He's like, when he tells her, he's like, she doesn't come out at night, or until night. You come on, get out of there.
Oh, she's the epitome of the freaks come out at night,
Yeah.
So she's just got really saggy skin, major face disfigurement,
slick and wet looking skin. That's another thing too that's gross about her.
Greasy hair. I mean, it's just it's inbred at its worst for sure. And of course, it's amped up for the horror of it all. So there's that. But that's the creature we're dealing with, and superhuman strength for sure.
Oh. Yeah, especially later on, whenever we see what she does to the homeless guy, ripping his arms off,
that was amazing. Nothing. Oh my God, that was so enjoyable, and the way that she popped his head.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But then you got Tess leaving, and this is the part of the movie that I could see people having an issue with on the woke agenda side if they want to go that route. Although I felt like it was pretty spot on, to be perfectly fucking honest with you. She gets out and she goes to police, and she's left Justin Long there because there's no way she could have did anything about him.
He was enjoying some titties. Calm down.
Yeah. And she tells the police, to come back with me, or it's like, there's this horrible shit that's went on in this house. There's this thing. And of course, I mean, if you were a random person and somebody walked up, and she's been, 2 weeks or whatever, probably only surviving on the mother's breast milk or whatever's going on there.
Yeah.
And she looks like a meth head. She really does.
She is disheveled. She is dirty. She probably smells like shit and piss. She's
got scratches everywhere. I mean, and these cops are just like, all right, crackhead, skedaddle off. And a lot of people would say, oh well, that's saying that cops, but I mean, even if you've dealt with cops and you're not looking like that, there's a lot of times where they'll just say piss off if it's not like something that's they consider, I don't know, reasonable, or like something that like to me. And I mean, I don't know, it might be this area of the country, and that's probably the reason we're so pro Second Amendment, is anytime we ever tell the cops that there's something going on, they don't even respond to it a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they fucking don't. And they're like, if it's not a drug deal going on or somebody wasn't murdered, we don't give two shits. So don't tell us anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and the best part about this film is that they set it up in Detroit, where the cops have so much more going on.
Oh, yeah.
And to go into this neighborhood that's not a real neighborhood. They know that it's not a real neighborhood.
And they know that one house, and they're like, well, you shouldn't be here anyways. Look at this fucking neighborhood, you know? And then and they're jaded as hell, but they would be. I mean, even while they're sitting there, they get a call to like a full on, like somebody's gotten murdered somewhere. Yeah. So like, why wouldn't they just bail on this, crazy chick?
Yeah, she would have had to, I don't know. I think there was a way to go about it, but she was also hysterical because of what she had been through. So I get why she was the way she was. Had she been able to calm down and be like, look, my boyfriend, fake, is down there, and we were dragged down by these people, and she was, they're holding us hostage, and my boyfriend's still in there, and not been so hysterical, like, this monster took us, and blah, 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 and then this guy died, and then I don't have my idea. If she had just been able to calm down, look, all my stuff's inside. When you open the door, you're going to see my luggage. I left, such and such here, blah, blah, blah. And been able to like calm down, maybe, but then we wouldn't have a film. So
no, and we also wouldn't have a film if we did like you want her to do after the police left. Instead of her although it was near dark, so I don't know how far she would have actually gotten.
Yeah.
But, she decides that she's going to try to go back in there and rescue AJ on her own, which I do agree with you to a certain extent is foolhardy, like we said earlier.
Foolhardy. I got a new word in my vocabulary.
But it's also another horror movie trope.
Yes.
Also, especially for a final girl, they always rush in and try to save at least the next to last survivor if they can help it. And I was talking with a coworker about it, and really, I mean, she didn't. I mean, yes, she could have left, but I mean, she didn't know how much time AJ had left if the thing was just going to just up and kill him. So, like, I don't know how much time she could have really prepared and done anything else to get anybody else there. Like, I mean, or who would have believed her to come there.
Yeah, I mean, it would have taken we have a Call Curtis out here where you contact the local news guy and you tell him, oh, well.
But she's not from the area, so she wouldn't have any traction with anybody.
No, absolutely not. But it doesn't take anything but some social media presence, to hop on and be like, okay, look, there is something going on here. Maybe contacting some friends to help her.
They also kind of set up in this movie, she's not really got a whole lot of friends, or she wouldn't have been in the situation she was in to begin with. Because she doesn't really contact anybody when she gets in that situation with Skarsgård.
It's one of those things where when my husband's on this podcast, he constantly says, this is why I like the older times, because there's no social media. There's that disconnect where you don't have the phones to contact people. You don't have means to get it out there that there is something going on. There is a way. Trust me.
You know what's funny about that? I was watching for the upcoming podcast, the big one, the Haunting of Bly Manor, the special features, Mike Flanagan said the reason he set that in the 80s was because he said it got rid of cell phones. He said cell phones kill horror films, and he's not wrong.
Absolutely. And the storyline behind it was also the storyline is really old, so to be fair,
but he said that the reason he wanted to set like the whole thing in the 80s just to get away from the cell phone, and because he loves the 80s, because he grew up like us in the 80s, and so that he was nostalgic for it.
He's not wrong. Hey, catch our next episode where we review the Haunting of Bly Manor. But anyways, so like I said, I want to throw this out right now. She really did have dumb hoe syndrome. And although she is the final girl, everything she got in this film, she deserves.
Well, I could see that to a certain extent. She was a little too brash, but like I said, I think one of her character faults was she was a little too overconfident in herself.
Yes.
Like she didn't want to admit that she couldn't do that.
She's lucky. Spoiler alert: she's lucky she survived.
True.
Barely.
And we have the scenes with Frank. It does the hard cut right after. If I remember right, the scenes with Justin Long getting captured, like when he's thrown into the pit with her, it's right after that's when the hard cut goes to show Frank and what he did to get that house to be that way, the House of Horrors as it was. That creepy scene where he actually tracks that young girl from the grocery store or whatever back to her home, acts like he's from like the local, authorities for the utilities or whatever, gets inside of her house and does that maneuver where he goes inside of a specific room, unlatches the window frame so he can come back in later and like chloroform or whatever he did.
Yeah.
Really creepy stuff.
Yeah. And again, buying stuff to birth the baby.
Yes.
And he was like, baby's not here yet.
Yeah, and then it sets up all that stuff. But another, again, hard cut. And this one's even worse because you recognize the house, and then you're like, why the fuck is the other houses fine? And then it's like, oh, shit, this is a time jump,
Yes. And it was right before, I really loved this setup. It was right before the neighbors knew the neighborhood was going to shit, and a lot of them were leaving.
Yeah. And they were bailing on the neighborhood.
And he's like, I ain't going nowhere.
It gives you that whole feeling of the, Detroit just basically spiraling down before it actually got to the point where we see it at in the movie. Yeah.
So it was an amazing setup. I mean, the car, the things that they were buying. Again, sounds in this film, top notch.
And like I said, top notch for me for the storytelling, because it gives you everything you need to know about the origin of the house and like maybe a 10-minute segment. And then it goes right back into, what we're seeing. So,
it was strictly business in this film. I fucking loved it. So.
And there's no downtime in that either, because with him tracking, it's its own horror movie in a sense, because you're watching a human horror at that point, like him,
yeah.
But anyways, we see Frank, like now, who's an old man, bedridden, apparently, I mean, just, popping out more babies is about the only thing he's good for, in addition to having whatever pneumonia, tuberculosis. He's probably got some kind of lung issue from it being so, wet and, like fungal and stuff growing down there in that cavern. But
isn't that also called, it's not a professional name, but isn't it referred to as the lung?
Well, I mean, in old days, but that actually it's funny you say that, Bly Manor. That's what they said that Katie Seagal's character, or Seagal's character, Seagal had, or no, not Viola. She had the lung, is what the guy claimed. That's but he's got that, but there's a pistol there that he's trying to get a hold of that he keeps reaching for, and Justin Long's like, the one thing that he does, which is kind of funny, because the one person he's actually nice to in the movie, like really nice to, is another serial rapist. So I don't know what that says about him.
Oh God. It's really a lot of foreshadowing, if anything.
It is. And he's sitting there, he's like, oh, well, what are you trying to get at? You want some water? And the guy's just like grunting at him, giving this death stare. And then we realize he's trying to go for the pistol. He's like, oh shit. And then and then he blows Frank's brains out, ending that whole, thing.
Well, the thing is that the foreshadowing, the make stuff that happens is before Justin Long's character, AJ, even sees the videotapes, which thank you to this film for not actually showing or even playing the sounds, really.
Yes,
I think you heard a little bit of slapping, right? Like a girl getting hit, but not.
Yeah, they show her getting hit, but they don't show the rape.
No,
and
rape
is one of my big outs on movies.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand it.
You hear about it, like you know that's what he did, but you don't hear it happening. Which you just hear a girl getting hit, which is bad. But hearing somebody get raped and seeing somebody get raped, that's pretty fucking terrifying. It's horrible. So they do spare you of that in this, but prior to him seeing that, AJ is like, don't worry, man. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna tell the police all about this place, and I'm gonna let them know what's been going on here. And this guy doesn't know that anything, like the main, well, I don't know, the bad guy doesn't know that he doesn't know anything yet. But then we see Justin Long has just finished a video, and he turns around and he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And
actually, I got that wrong. I remember now. Isn't Richard Brake like gets the pistol, but instead of actually attacking AJ with it, like he blows his own brains out because he thinks the police are finally coming to make him pay for his crimes? That's what it is. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's the crazy part is here we pretty much have a monster looking at a monster saying, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" That's how bad exactly. Richard Brake characters is.
Yeah, and then of course. Whenever Tess comes in there to try to save AJ, the son of a bitch shoots her because that's just how he is.
Which is crazy because the scene is set up so cool. She's walking and she sees a light and I don't remember what she says, like, "Is that you?" or "Hello?" and then boom, she gets shot.
Yeah, so he knows it's her. Like the thing can't make sounds, like legit sounds, or at least this point it hasn't. And like he does that to her. And so I can't remember, did she actually attack the monster at this point? Like, did she get anything on the monster, or was it just not around at the moment?
This is right after she hits the monster with her car.
Okay.
So there is
she
a
thinks
scene
it's
where
dead. She ran it into the house. That's what she did. I remember now.
Now I don't remember like if she just she got into her car, she turned it on, she turned on the lights and aimed it at the house, and that's when the monster crawls out of the little crawl. There's a tiny little crawl space from the basement. And that they had already broken out. And
she pinned it against the wall, and it looked like it was dead. It was kind of just hanging there on the hood.
Yes.
And here's another thing about it, another visual or just the storytelling that's good about like painting what AJ is. Like there's a split second there where he doesn't even act like he's going to try to help the girl he shot even get back up. He's just going to run out of the place himself.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what he's going to do.
It's just weird, but they do get out together, and when they do, she realizes that the creature known as the mother is not pinned to the front of her car anymore. And by the way, that car does die. Like it died. She couldn't start it anymore. Yeah.
And for some reason, AJ doesn't have his keys because they're like still down there in the house somewhere. And then so they're like, and then they come across the homeless guy. He invites them in his sanctuary. And then you have that it's actually pretty good comedic, timing, or, sitting there talking to her. She's like, wait, how do you know that the she, he's like, bitch, that bitch never came in here, or whatever he says. And then that's instantly when she bursts through the wall and like, rips his arms off.
You get no time to react. She doesn't come in here. Boom, she's there.
And of course, the scene that we've alluded to the whole entire thing, talking about AJ's final, like, showing what he is. The two of them crawl to the top of the water tower. She's barely functioning. Tess is. She's still bleeding out, which I at least like that because, in a lot of movies, you can watch the main heroine or, final girl like bleeding. And she never acts like she's suffering from blood loss. But clearly Tess is on her last legs.
Yeah. And even adrenaline is the only thing keeping this girl going. The fear. Yeah.
And AJ fumbles the fucking gun like he would because he's a piece of shit. And then when she gets up there, he's like, I'll take care of this. And then what does he do? He eats her off the top of the tower. And then because he knows that the mother is after Tess instead of him. And so she follows her baby down to her doom, basically.
Yeah. The mother literally becomes a cushion between Tess and the ground. She breaks the ground for them. She grabs her, gets underneath her somehow falling, and they both land on their back, but Tess lands on the mother monster.
Yes.
So it breaks her fall. Still got to be painful as fuck if she survives. She does. Spoiler alert. Barely.
And then AJ comes down there, and the son of a bitch yet again has an opportunity to actually be a person, and he's just going to fucking kill both of them, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
But that's whenever the mother pops up and rips his fucking eyes out, and you're like, this is the moment where I was like, okay, this makes up for his character, because I've always hated his character in Jeepers. It's like, in that movie, he didn't technically deserve to get his eyes ripped out, but he also was a character that like never fought back against the creeper to actually, keep that from happening.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie pays back for Jeepers Creepers. You deserve to get your eyes ripped out in that. You deserve your eyes ripped out in this. I was like, thank God she took you out before she died.
Yeah. So it was well deserved. You're like, well, I mean, choices were made.
And then, of course, Tess gets her she finally, kills and I think it's a glorifying head explosion, wasn't it? Like when she shoots the mother or whatever happens to her at that point, she finds the gun and blows her brains out.
Yes. And the mother lets her. She's like, she lets her know, she's like, I'm dying. I can't go back to that house. And she puts the gun, and the mother says bye-bye in the best way she can because her speech isn't quite what it should be. And yeah.
And then that's your movie. And it's great. Just the way they did it all the way around.
Yes.
I don't think we covered the music's the only thing we left out, but it's tense. I don't remember any particular parts of the score that stood out to me, but it does what we've talked about the Asian films didn't necessarily do. It's got that, the pauses where it needs to, the large, loud sounds whenever it needs that. And, it just works.
Yeah. Everything is pretty tense, and everything is on point, too.
And doesn't the movie end in a weird, 1950s song?
Oh,
or
God.
am I spoiling a movie that just came out that I watched that might be discussed on the next podcast?
Hold on. Give me 1 second.
I want to say that it's like, a Mr. Sandman or something like that. I want to say that it is. Which is funny because it's not the only one in 2022 to end that way.
Hold on. I'm getting the soundtrack right now. And hopefully it's in sync with the timeline of the movie. But, oh, crap.
While you're looking at that, I'll just cover a little bit of trivia to kind of get this over with. Script started out after Zach Cregger read the book The Gift of Fear, which encourages women to trust their intuition when confronted by obviously dangerous men. He used it as a writing exercise and began crafting a 35-minute short that consisted entirely of a conversation in which a woman continues to ignore a mounting series of red flags. He liked it well enough that he knew that the makings of a longer film were there and began conceptualizing a broader story. So that explains why the writing is so on par between Tess and Keith or whatever at the beginning of the movie, because they, he basically, that's what he started with and he went from there. So that's awesome. Kreger officially offered the role of AJ to Zac Efron. Efron turned it down, causing Kreger to rethink the role and offer it to Justin Long, who accepted. I guarantee you that if it was initially offered to Efron, that it wasn't as comedic as it ended up being with Long in the role.
Yeah, that's true.
Zac Efron tends to play the dramatic side more.
Yeah, and
I've seen him in comedies. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like naturally, like Justin Long. Just naturally, when you see him, there's something about him that steers toward comedy just most of the time.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing too: is first off, I can't believe Justin Long is 44 years old. He does not look like a 44-year-old man.
No.
He's very soft spoken. He's got the comedy aspect down. We know that, but to find out that he's a monster in this film was very unexpected because of what I just listed about him.
Yeah, he plays against type in this movie because he's usually the goofy friend, or like he's kind of the protagonist in a lot of the movies he's in.
Yeah, so there was a lot of twists. I mean, what the twist?
What the twist?
There's a lot of twists in this film, and that was just one of the many, was him playing an asshole, because he just doesn't come off, but he really did pull it off, so.
And in that subtle way, too, where it's not like directly him saying that I'm a scumbag. You see it more from his actions and the way he responds to things.
Absolutely. There's no words. It's only actions.
Although not officially credited anyway, Jordan Peele was an invisible hand in shaping the eventual story. Georgina Campbell, who plays Tess, told IndieWire in an interview that Kreger was good friends with Jordan Peele, and I think he spoke to Jordan a lot while he was writing the film, and Peele saw an early cut of it as well. Campbell went on to say that, so he definitely was kind of a part of the essence of the movie. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I personally am not the biggest fan of Jordan Peele's like horror movies, but I mean, if he had a hand in steering this, I mean, it shows that, I mean, that he's got a good grasp on the genre, even if I don't appreciate his particular movies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he does. I'm not going to discredit Jordan Peele. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but he definitely has something. I mean, look at, what's his name? Why can't I think of him right now? M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. He has a hold on the industry, and a lot of his films are not great. So Jordan Peele is right in there.
True.
I think creatively, Jordan Peele has some good ideas. Maybe they're just not executed as well for all the films, which is going to happen. Update. The creepy-ass, old-timey song, you were right. There is one. And in terms of this film, it fits so well and makes it even creepier. It's Be My Baby by the Ronettes.
That's right. It's like, be my baby. That's right.
Yes.
That's how it ends. Okay.
Oh, my God. So, yes, that's what we're looking
Spoiler alert for another film, Smile ends with Lollipop for some strange reason. So there you go.
Oh, my God.
Anyways, this film is set on 476 Barbary Street. The year 476 was when the barbarians invaded Rome. So that's one of your ties to the barbarian name. Also, and this is the reason I thought it was, barbarians were given the name as a pejorative term by the Romans because they sounded to the Romans like they were repeatedly saying bar, bar, bar every time that they spoke. That's why they called them barbarians.
Oh my God.
If you listen to the main mother, creature in this movie, when it tries to say baby, it's a lot of ba, so I think that's where the barbarian, really comes in on it.
Holy shit. And then, of course, was that the address of that house?
Yeah.
476. Oh, Barbary, you said that. Okay. I wasn't sure if you...
Barbary Street,
I must have missed that. Okay. Oh, my God. That's fucking awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's really subtle, just like a lot of the stuff that Kreger done in the film, but it makes sense whenever you go back and you realize that.
Yeah.
The Hollywood Reporter expose on AJ is written by Kim Masters, who is a real-life reporter at the Trade publication. In the wake of the Harvey Weinstein cases, she became known for breaking stories about men in film and TV industry have been accused of sexual assault. So they tied that whole thing in.
Well, goddamn.
And the final one, when AJ goes through the luggage at the Airbnb, he opens Keith's suitcase and there's a copy of Jane Eyre under his clothes, much or like the mother. Jane Eyre features an insane woman who is locked away. So there's kind of that's really deep thinking on behalf of Kreger. The fact that he linked like thematically Jane Eyre to like his insane woman that he's locked away in this one. So
yeah.
Rating time. I'll let you go first on this one. I want to see what you said on it or what you thought.
This one was a huge hit for me. Aside from the dumb hoe decisions, we really did need those. I think the movie still could have been great if they weren't made like maybe if they were made differently, and it still led maybe even to more deaths or more horror in the long run. But this was a 4.5. A 4.5 out of 5 rotting corpses for me. It was fast and action packed. It got to the point. It was horrific. I didn't get time to catch my breath, which made it harder in the next scene to find out even more horrific scenes during softer points in the film, like when we are in the 80s, 80s Detroit, and you're like, what's going on here? And you realize what the fuck is happening? Why? I'm trying to get over the scene where I just saw fucking Justin Long get thrown into a cage, and I'm like, he's gonna die horrifically,
Right.
I've seen a monster. There's a fucking monster. What the fuck is going on? Oh wait, no, this guy's a monster. Just scene after scene. The jump scares were great. The music wasn't overbearing that it made the jump scare. The jump scares made themselves.
Yes, they did.
The scenery was fucking horrific. Everywhere you turn, the only thing good in this film was that Airbnb house in Shitsville, USA. So the monster was realistic in the terms that it wasn't. Once you really got to see her, you understood why she looked like a monster. She was just like,
and it was tragic too.
Yes, it was tragically horrifying. She's the way that she is for a reason because of her. She's a product of her environment and of how she became. She's not really a monster. She's just grossly deformed.
She has been raised since the time that she was a child to be told that the only thing that she is good for is to make more babies and to raise them. And that's what she has been programmed in her head to do. And she has found her baby and she's trying to take care of it.
Yes.
And it's a sad, twisted, thing that she's the villain, but she is just because, all the stuff that surrounds that.
Yeah. The only thing that doesn't make sense is how she is so strong. And I don't know if that's something that happens. I thought that when you are that inbred, you're actually weak. Like your bones are different, they're not as dense and whatnot.
You probably would be, although I mean it's operating on the movie logic of I hate to say it, but they used to call that horrible word retard strength.
Yes.
It's like I think it's operating on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Or something similar. I mean, it's a trope in movies that if you're, Wrong Turn uses it, for instance, they're, those inbred, hillbillies in that movie are not only super strong, but they're also immune to pain. So it's they went that route with it.
Faux show. What about you?
So I originally put 4.2 in this. I'm going to bump it up to 4.3, and it could go up even higher as I rewatch it because I really do love this movie. I would rate it higher than that, but this has been between September and October has been the best set of movies horror movies I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's this and then Pearl and then Smile. Just, bam, 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 one after another. And this is the least of the three, in my opinion, and it's still amazing.
Yeah.
So now Pearl could be argued to be less depending upon what you're looking for because it's more of a dramatic piece. It's more, but it's the story and the character, kind of dissection that they're doing for Pearl. It bumps it up to more like a 4.5 for me, and that's why I had to rank them. I'm ranking this technically against Pearl is what I'm doing. I don't want to do that, but when I saw them pretty close to each other, it's like, well, one has to get a slightly lower rating than the other one. So, So I would say this is about a 4.3, 4.4. And like I said, it could go up because I really have nothing wrong with this movie other than the fact that there is a bit of the old school horror cheesiness. I love it, but I mean, it's not like, but there's other things I've seen in other movies recently that if you're going straight up, for a horror movie, you're better off, you may be looking for them, although there's nothing wrong with the horror scenes in this movie either. So
yeah,
it's up there.
They did it really well, for sure.
Like I said before, it's the comedy complements the action, the cheesy, and the tension. There's tension in the movie, great visual world building, like I said, and the reliance on the audience to keep up, which I love because I hate when movies explain something to you that you've already seen, and it's like, I don't need you to tell me what. I realized that those two characters were, like, for instance, like lovers. I didn't need you to tell me explicitly that they were. I mean, the glances and the way they interacted with each other, you know what I'm saying? It's like one of those things. So
no, I think that what they did really well too is they broke the tension so good that when it came back, your anxiety went through the roof again.
Yes, it's like, okay, we just got a reprieve from this. Don't go back into that hole or whatever. And of course, for various reasons, the next character in the series, goes down that route.
You're like, no, and I shouldn't say they broke it so good because they didn't. You went from something horrific to something horrific, but it was a different type of horror. So technically, you got a break, but you didn't. It went from one type of horror to a different one.
The biggest break you get in the movie is with the AJ scenes, and even then, the implications once you realize that he's, what he's done and what he is a person doesn't necessarily break it up that much. It's just, he's just a goofy ass person.
He's a different type of monster, and then you go into 1980s Detroit, and you think it's a break because it's a way smoother, it's a way cleaner, prettier looking scenery, but you're dealing with a monster.
It's traditional Americana. They got the flags waving and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. So it was nonstop.
But high recommendations from both of us. It's just a great film.
Yes. Know that I was irritated in this film a lot, though, for sure. But I think it really drove to how good of the film it was. So.
And with that, folks, peace be with you.
And with your spirit.
The night we met, I knew I needed you so. And if I had the chance, I'd never let you go. So won't you say you love me? I'll make you so proud of me. We'll make them turn their heads every place we go. So won't you please keep my